Hello, YouTube. Get ready for a different type of upload. We're going to do a little science. You heard that right. Jerry the Jitterbug is going to try a little science. But guess what? I am not going to explain it that much. We'll leave that for the more scientific individuals, not me. So what are we doing? As you can see, what do we have here? A pretty cool Sensation Comics number 43 with a classic Wonder Woman cover and a horse cover and her using her golden lasso and taking some bad guy gangsters away, I guess, to the clinker. But also what you can see right here is that there is extensive tape on the spine, right here, right here. There's a lot of tape, and there's also tape on the back of the spine as well. And the tape is actually taped or taping the cover onto the first interior wrap. So, what do I want to do? What does Jerry the Jitterbug want to do? He wants to have fun, and he wants to do something a little bit different. And what he wants to do is I essentially want to try to remove this tape that we're looking at using dry ice. And I've seen this before. I've seen dry ice being used to remove paint, to remove adhesive on other applications. And I just so happen to have a little packet of dry ice. It's very dangerous. Use gloves, don't touch it directly, use tools to move it, etc., etc. We're gonna go over all that because it's all about safety in Jerry the Jitterbug's channel. Oh, and by the way, thank you for stopping by. If you haven't, hit that sub button. So I have dogs. I'm sure if you watch my channel, you know you hear them barking upstairs when someone comes and knocks on the door. And one of the dogs has an issue according to my family, and they get special food which is shipped, and in the shipping container there's a packet of dry ice, and it comes once a month, and I'm going to use it, and we're going to see if we can use that dry ice to remove the tape. So let me get things set up and I'll be right back. Okay guys, we are back, and what I want to do is I want to remove the staples, and I want to try to remove the cover and the first wrap with the tape so we can isolate it and try to remove the tape with some nice dry ice. So I'm trying to get to the centerfold, and what I have set up is my leaf casting table with my shelving unit on top of the leaf casting table. So it looks like the bottom staple may be rusted through, but we have the top staple right here. And for me to remove staples, and I've said this many times in the past, I use my own tools in the form of my fingernail, and I just get under there just like that, and hopefully the camera is picking it up. I believe it should be, and there you go. I just lifted the prongs, and that's it. And I'll straighten the prongs out a little bit, and that's all she wrote. So the prongs are up and straight and ready to come out. Let's see if we can push it through. And again, the tape is holding the staples or the top staple in place. So what we're going to do is let's see how the bottom staple is held into place. And I can tell you right there, we'll take the centerfold off, okay? Excuse me. And here we go. We got the bottom staple. And we're just going to use my fingernail and lift it up on the bottom. And then we're going to do the same, lifting it up on or the bottom, and we just lifted the top. Okay, so right there, that was easy peasy. See how easy that was? And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to pull up as many of the wraps, just like this, out of, in order. And let's try to get this top one off, and it's giving me a little trouble, so I'm gonna flip it around. We're gonna see what the deal is. There we go. There must be some tape. And there we go. So we just took the majority of the interior pages off, and we're gonna do the same thing with a few more. Let's see. And the staple came through, which is fine. So I'm seeing right now, and I hope this is coming through. So let me just take a look. Yes, it is coming through. The top staple came off. So that's the top staple. And I'll put a piece of blue tape where I know the top and the bottom. I'll put a little T. And I think this is going to probably be a conserved book. I don't know yet. We'll see how far it goes. But I'm not getting too crazy with making everything perfect with this because it's a low-grade book. And we know Jerry the Jitterbug loves low-grade books, but it's not a major key, and it's just something that I want to use to test my theory of whether the dry ice will work in removing tape. So let's take a look. So we see right here the first wrap is connected to the cover. We knew this. We knew this. So what I want to do is I just want to try to flatten it out so we can put the nice dry ice on a flat cover. And let me see if I can see the bottom staple stuck in here somewhere with the tape. And maybe I can peel it out by doing it this way. Like just, there we go. So we got the bottom staple out. I'm gonna put them in my tape, and then we're gonna put them to the right on my backsplash of my studio here. And let's see if we can get this first wrap off, if it will slowly peel off perhaps without causing too much damage. And it doesn't look like it. So what I want to do now is I want to try to flatten this out a little bit, because if I can flatten it out a tiny bit, I think it would be better for the tape removal by me just being able to place the dry ice right on top of the cover, and with it being flat is probably a better course. So we're gonna do some old school flattening. So right here I put my piece of glass on the tape, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a weight on the piece of glass, and we're just gonna let this sit for a good 20 minutes to an hour. And then after that, I'll be right back, and then we'll get going, and we'll try to use the dry ice to remove the tape. Whether it will work, I don't know, but we're gonna find out together. You know what? I changed my mind. You see that, Jerry the Jitterbug? Sometimes he just changes his mind and he goes a little loco. So right here I see on the cover, there is glass and there is also tape right here. Could you see that? I'm sure you can. Now everyone knows there's ways to remove tape using solvents, solvents and whatnot. But we are going to try the dry ice method. So what I want to do is I want to cut a piece of parchment paper. So I can place the parchment paper on top of the dry ice. And then, or actually the dry ice on top of the parchment paper. And we're gonna see if this is going to work. Okay, and it's good because you can see through the parchment paper and I can see where the ice is going to have to be placed. And I can lift it up and the ice is going to have to be put right over here. That's the goal, guys. Okay, so let's take that, we'll put that there, the weight. And I think personally what I should do is I should get a weight to put down on top of this parchment paper so it doesn't shift up and then we have a problem. So there you go. Now what I want to do is let me get a pair of gloves, and I'm looking, and I do believe they're upstairs. So hang loose, I'll be right back. Okay guys, we're back. So I'm gonna wear two types of gloves. I'm gonna wear regular, medium duty, disposable rubber gloves. And then I'm also going to wear my winter gloves. Okay, so two sets of gloves. And we're gonna see if this works or it doesn't. And again, this is definitely a science project. I have tongs too, we're gonna use to handle the dry ice. Let me get the dry ice ready and I'll show you it in a second. Then I'm gonna put my winter gloves on as well. And we're gonna see if we can manipulate it and put the ice on to the tape and whether the tape will essentially freeze off. And that's the main thing that allegedly happens. It freezes off and it will just crack open the tape and the adhesive. And that's how we do it. So right here is the dry ice, the pieces. I'm gonna open it up. Actually, I'm gonna do it to the side. Okay. And we're gonna try one piece on that one piece of tape, and we're gonna see whether this works. And I see online and on the internet that dry ice is also used for car restoration to remove paint. So there we go. I see the tape. I'm gonna put the dry ice right on where the tape is. Science! And we're gonna let that sit. Actually, let's flip it around. So it sits right on the tape. Let's just make sure I'm in the right position. There you go. Okay, guys. So this is pretty cool, don't you think? And I know there's warnings with dry ice. It has to be in a well-ventilated area. It can blow up if it's not in a well-ventilated area. And I'll leave the science to the Google, where if people want to see how the dry ice works. That is not my reason for doing this upload. The reason for doing this upload is to see if the dry ice will work in removing the tape. So how long are we gonna keep this here? I think I'm gonna keep this here for about 5 minutes. And then we'll move it over and we'll see if it actually did work. And instead of staying here and listening to gibbering Jerry the Jitterbug, what we should do is put it on a time lapse, and I'll focus in on the ice and we'll see if anything happens on the time lapse. And then after 5 minutes, 10 minutes around there, we'll come back and we'll see if anything happened, if the ice or the dry ice basically froze off the tape. I'm very interested to see. So stay tuned, enjoy the time lapse. Okay guys, we're back, and the dry ice has been on the tape for a good about 10 minutes. I'm putting my gloves back on. I did not time it exactly, but I'm curious to see whether that time is enough for something to happen. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the ice. And it really like just froze the metal. So we have to be very careful. This is some serious stuff right here. I'm gonna remove the parchment paper and let's see if this did anything. If it did, that would be cool. If it didn't, we'll put it back on and we'll see. So I'm gonna be up front. It looks like it did absolutely nothing. The tape is still secure on the paper, so it did absolutely nothing. It is cold though. So what I think we're gonna do is I'm gonna try to get it on there, put it on there for a little bit longer, and then we'll come back and we'll see whether there's any change in the results. So let me just get this exactly on it, just like that. And I'm gonna leave it on longer. I'm gonna leave it on for about 15 minutes or so. So I'll be right back and we'll see if this science experiment worked or it was a big failure. I'll see you shortly. Okay guys, we're back. So the dry ice has been on the tape for a good 15 minutes. Now I tried using a freezer method for the Brave and the Bold 28, if you remember that series, and it actually worked to a degree. But let's see, let's slide this dry ice over and let's see if there's any movement on the tape. And I'm gonna be honest, there's nothing. It didn't work. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try one other section. I'm gonna try, because this maybe looks like it's a little newer tape, I'm gonna try this section right here. Let's see if the camera can pick it up. Yes, we're gonna try this section right here because this looks more like ancient tape. For some reason, this to me looks more modern tape. So what I want to do is I'm going to put it on this section right here, and let's see if the ancient tape is something that will be a little bit more accepting of the dry ice. Okay, so we'll put this dry ice right here, get it nice and down, and let's see if maybe that will work a little bit better. Okay, so I'm gonna leave this on for a good 15 minutes or so, and then we'll be right back. And if it doesn't work for this section that I'm trying to work on now, we're gonna deem the dry ice technique a failure, and we're just going to go in the future and take all this tape off using solvents, which is definitely a method that is proven to work. Okay, so I'll see you in about 15. Okay, ladies and gents, we are back for the second test to see if we can remove some of this tape off of this Sensation Comics. I'm putting my gloves on, safety first, and we're gonna move over this dry ice, which I read or I saw on different YouTube videos that ice can be used to remove tape, actually dry ice, and this is what we are doing right now to see if it would work. So we have a piece here, and it is a little bit more ancient, it looks like, the tape, than the tape that was the first example that we tried to remove. So what I want to do is I want to just get my X-Acto knife here and see if it broke it free at all. And we'll give it a little try here and we'll see if it flakes off. And I'm going to be upfront with you guys. I think this is a failure. It's not coming off at all. It's not fracturing because actually, let's take a look. Maybe I spoke too prematurely. Let's use a tweezers, and I'm going to try to pull it off. And right here is a piece. So let's put this to the side. So it did crack off, and the graphics are still underneath. So let's see if we can get another little piece to crack off. And right here, another piece cracked up. And I hope the camera is picking this up. Let's see if I can get this piece off right here. Okay. So the tape is coming off. At least the ancient pieces of tape. And let's see if we can get the X-Acto knife, and this is a very dull blade. Let's see if we can get it underneath there. And maybe chip up some more of this tape without removing the graphics. Okay, so 2 big chunks came off, and here they are, the 2 big chunks. I don't know if I'm able to get them with the camera. Yes, right here, 2 big chunks. So they did pop up. Let's put them to the side, and I am going to essentially move the dry ice over, and I'm going to rest it again right over that piece of tape, and we're gonna let it sit there again. I'm not gonna do a time lapse. I'm gonna let it sit there for a good 15 minutes, and we're gonna see if that alone is enough to remove that piece of tape. And if I only get those few little chunks that came off as a result of letting this rest for another 15-20 minutes on the tape, I can conclude that it's not worth it to do it this way. Solvents, you let it soak, you can manipulate it better and get all the adhesive off. I'm not too optimistic about this method, but again, let's try it with that little piece, and I'll be right back after about 15 minutes. Okay guys, we're back. And I want to apologize. I know this is not action-packed adventure of conservation, but I'm just curious to see if this would work, and I thought I would share it. So let's see. Are we able to remove, you know what? Let's get a little closer. So what we want to do is we want to see if this ice is actually breaking off the tape and making it where you can remove it. And I have to say, guys, that, and I hope the camera's picking it up, it is coming off rather easily. So again, look at that big chunk that came off. And let's see if it's tacky. There's no tackiness at all. Let's get under there. Let's see if we can use our dull blade and get under and lift it up. And let's see. You ready? Do, 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 do. There you go. There you go. Okay, so hopefully the camera is picking it up. Right there. Do you see that big chunk that came off? I'm gonna put it to the side, the tape. I have to say that I am actually quite surprised. Look at that. You see, guys? Look at that. Boop. No graphic loss. Nothing at all. The tape came off. So it didn't work on the more modern tape, but it worked on the ancient tape. Is that fair to say? I think it's fair to say. So we're going to retool. And this may be a little bit longer of an upload because Jerry the Jitterbug is sort of excited that it actually worked. And if you look here, look at all the tape that came up without solvents. And there is zero, and I'm going to say 0 color lift. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this, the dry ice. Let's get rid of this piece. Actually, it's dissipating. So let's get rid of this piece. Let's put it to the side. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this piece of, actually we need a longer piece. So let me cut a longer piece, okay? I'm gonna cut a longer piece off camera. And then I am going to put dry ice going all the way down the spine. And I am going to keep that there for a good half an hour. That's what I left the last piece on. Half an hour, 20 minutes. Again, I should be timing these things a little bit better so we seem a little bit more scientific. But listen, what are we doing here? We're not being that scientific. We're putting dry ice on the spine. So we're gonna put this down right here, just like this. Okay, then we're gonna put another piece of glass just like that. And I hope the camera's picking it up. I believe it is. And now what I'm gonna do is I am going to get the dry ice, so hang out. I have the dry ice right here, thank you. And we're gonna put the dry ice down the spine. And we're gonna see if it's gonna work. Let's put a piece there. Let's put a piece, science! Let's put a piece below it. Just like this. Science! It blinded me with science. Piece of dry ice like that. Oh, by the way guys, if you like the channel, know it would be pretty cool if you sub. If you're watching this, give it a sub. Give Jerry the Jitterbug a little thumbs up. And then there's something else. There's another button that I noticed. It's called hyping. Okay, I don't know if you know about that feature, but where you do your comments, there is a hype feature. Okay, so right there, we're gonna put that dry ice on top of the spine. And I'm gonna tell you what, I'm gonna try a little bit more dry ice on this piece of tape, because it's possible that maybe I did not leave the dry ice on there long enough. Does that sound maybe that it's possible? Is it possible? Is it possible? Is it possible? Of course it's possible. And we're gonna check that out. We're gonna put another piece. I have one more piece. And then this may be an ongoing series where once I get the shipments for the dog food, we're gonna get more of this dry ice. And I'll use it every time on this book until complete, until we get all the tape off. So let's put a piece of dry ice on that section. And I'm gonna leave this on for quite some time. We're gonna leave this on, like I said, for about a half an hour, because I was very happy with the results of the dry ice on the ancient tape. And to be honest with you guys, even with doing solvents, it's always easier, or the solvents always work better on the ancient tapes versus the more modern tapes. So let's push this down, this ice here. Okay, and any of you whiz heads out there, any of you scientists out there, if you have any idea about how to essentially make this colder, I would appreciate you leaving it in the comments. And I should do a little bit more research myself, but I didn't. I'm just doing it based on my memory, looking at old videos on YouTube and car restoration videos, how to remove paint and glue off a floor. A lot of people use dry ice to use adhesive off of floors when a floor was put down with adhesive. I see that. So why not using it for tape removal? Okay, guys, we're gonna shut this upload because I'm sure it's a little too long. And then we'll have part 2 and we'll see how this works in the future. So thank you for stopping by. Appreciate your support and stay.